Stephen Hawking physics quotes and imaginative anecdotes. 1. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. Sam, a mid-level engineer at a London-based IT company, always bragged about knowing everything. When the company decided to implement new software, Sam dismissed it as easy and skipped proper preparation, assuming he already knew enough. But when he started using it, he struggled with even the most basic tasks and caused the system to crash multiple times. Desperate, Sam asked his younger colleague Ben for help. Ben calmly said, "It's not embarrassing to not know something, but pretending you do is dangerous." Sam, struck by the truth of Ben's words, decided to relearn everything from scratch. Weeks later, he mastered the software and showcased real expertise. When Ben asked, feeling confident this time, Sam smiled and replied, "I've graduated from illusions," and the two shared a laugh. 2. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Emily, a renowned physics professor at Cambridge, was brilliant in her field but terrible with technology. When the university introduced a new online teaching platform, she complained, "I can't use this." But after watching her students easily adapt, Emily decided to give it a shot. Though clumsy at first, she gradually got the hang of it. Months later, Emily had become an online teaching expert, proudly boasting to her colleagues, "You can teach an old dog new tricks." One student jokingly asked, "So, VR lessons next?" Emily laughed and replied, "I'll adapt to that, too, when the time comes." 3. We are all different. There is no such thing as a standard or run-of-the-mill human being. Oliver, a teenager living in London, had always been told he was weird. He was a math nerd who preferred solving equations over playing video games with friends. His peers saw him as strange, but Oliver didn't mind much. One day, the school held a speech contest, and Oliver decided to talk about individuality. "What is normal?" he asked the audience, passionately explaining how everyone has unique talents and interests. After the speech, the audience gave him a standing ovation. Later, one of his classmates said, "You're still weird, but that was amazing." Oliver smiled and replied, "Thanks, but no one's truly normal." 4. However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. Linda, a recent graduate living on the outskirts of London, had been rejected from countless job applications. She began to feel like she was failing at life, convinced she had no talents. One day, she stumbled upon a pottery class by chance. She wasn't interested at first, but as she molded clay, something clicked inside her. Months later, Linda crafted a beautiful vase that won first prize in a local exhibition. When her friends marveled at her newfound skill, Linda said with a smile, "Life is funny. Just when you think you're failing, you find something you're good at." Life would be tragic if it weren't funny. George, a cartoonist working for a London newspaper, was having a rough day. During an important meeting, he spilled coffee all over his tie, causing his colleagues to burst out laughing. Frustrated at first, George decided to turn the embarrassing moment into inspiration. He sketched a comic strip about office mishaps that became an instant hit. After the meeting, his colleagues teased, "That was a rough one." "Huh?" George grinned and said, "Well, life's a tragedy without humor. You've got to laugh through it." And the team had a good laugh, knowing he was right. 6. The past, like the future, is indefinite and exists only as a spectrum of possibilities. Lucy, a young curator at an art gallery in London, was anxious about her future. Unsure of her career path, she visited an exhibition showcasing the works of famous artists from the past. As she walked through the gallery, Lucy realized how many of these artists had faced uncertainties, just like her, yet they embraced countless possibilities. By the end of the exhibition, Lucy decided that instead of worrying about her future, she would explore the many paths in front of her. When a colleague later asked, "What's your plan for the future?" Lucy smiled and said, "The future's a spectrum of possibilities. I'm going to enjoy the journey." 7. Work gives you meaning and purpose, and life is empty without it. Harry, a successful salesman in London, was burnt out from the constant grind. He took a vacation to the south of France, but instead of feeling relaxed, he felt out of place without his work routine. One evening, he met the owner of a local shop, who spoke with pride about his craft. Harry realized how much he missed the sense of purpose his job gave him. Returning to London, he dove back into work, but this time with renewed passion. Laughing with a colleague, he said, "Turns out, without work, life really is empty." 8. It surprises me how disinterested we are today about things like physics, space, the universe, and philosophy of our existence, our purpose, our final destination. It's a crazy world out there. David, a London businessman, had little interest in science or the universe. He spent his days glued to work and his evenings playing mobile games. One afternoon, while sitting on a park bench, an old man sat beside him and asked, "Where do you think the edge of the universe is?" David, puzzled, listened as the man passionately explained the wonders of the cosmos. Intrigued, David found himself looking up YouTube videos on space that evening. The next day, he told his coworker, "I've been thinking about the universe lately." The coworker laughed. "David, you thinking about the universe? The world really has gone mad." 9. Quiet people have the loudest minds. Grace, a designer at a London ad agency, was always quiet and reserved. Her colleagues often mistook her silence for shyness, unaware that her mind was buzzing with ideas. One day, during a brainstorming session for an important project, Grace finally spoke up. She shared her ideas, which ended up saving the day. Her team was stunned. The leader smiled and said, "The quiet ones always have something big going on in their heads." Grace simply smiled back, feeling validated for the first time. "You got that right," she thought. 10. The universe doesn't allow perfection. Edward, a perfectionist architect in London, was tasked with designing a new skyscraper. He agonized over every detail, striving for absolute perfection. As the project deadline approached, he realized that some elements of the design just couldn't be perfected. Reluctantly, Edward submitted his work, feeling it was incomplete. But when the building was finished, it received critical acclaim as a timeless masterpiece. When a friend asked how it went, Edward chuckled and said, "Turns out, the universe doesn't allow perfection." He finally learned that lesson.